Welcome to a new episode of Delphine's Circle, where we uncover the mind, body, and spirit of success. Subscribe now for free to receive updates on the latest interviews. Then, sit back, relax, and tune in. Hello, Richard, and welcome to the Circle.
Happy to be here.
Well, I should say you're welcoming us in your beautiful Emerald Bay home. Thank you for taking the time on this weekend to allow us to come in and talk to you.
It's my pleasure.
So our relationship, our friendship spans over 20 years. It's funny because people always ask me, like, how do you know all these people? And if I were to actually have to say one person, you're probably the person most responsible for so many people that I know, because you've introduced me to so many people over the years. So you're a big part of the circle.
When we met in the Sandbox, it was a really fun day.
Absolutely. You've served as a publisher of the Orange County Business Journal since 1990.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. And of course, you had the Cable Business Journal television show for 10 years.
Over 20.
Over 20. And so you've been around for a while. You know a lot about this county. You're probably one of the most well-known figures in Orange County, I would say.
Well, thank you.
It's funny because we think about print media, and when you took over the Business Journal, it really was not much of a publication at that time. In fact, we kind of laugh and say you took it from worst to first. What exactly did you do, and why has the Business Journal become the success that it has?
The owner of the Los Angeles and San Diego Business Journals wanted to have a complete set in Southern California, and there was a publication called the Orange County Business Journal, but it was not a business journal like exists in the rest of the country. It wasn't even a weekly. It had a very weak following. It had minimal revenue. And he made it much better by making it a weekly, expanding the investment in journalists fourfold. And I was the second publisher he hired, because the first one, while he successfully increased the investments to make it into a better quality product, didn't move the dial on revenue. So when I got there, it was pretty badly upside down with very minimal revenue. Our revenues today are almost 8 times greater than they were then.
Which is incredible, because what we're seeing nationwide, if not worldwide, is print media is on what we call, you mentioned it, impending death. I mean, what is it? How is it that the Orange County Business Journal has continued to be so successful and thrive in an environment that is not thriving for most print publications?
Well, you mentioned my tenure. I think it helps the fact that I've been doing this for 30 years. And we made it very much to a social medium where it's the high school newspaper for the kids who run Orange County. So when you know all the other kids and you know about them, and you've got great journalists that you can collaborate with, it makes a big difference in terms of when we write about something, our readers see that they really understand what they're talking about. We have credibility. I've got a great editor. I've got a great associate publisher. I've got just great people there. Many of them have been there 20, 25 years. So we got people that also know the community, and we do a fine job. But that's a necessary condition. But the other thing we do that no one else has done in print media is we didn't lose our way with the digital disruption.
Yeah, because everybody else is going to digital, and you guys have continued to have the print publication.
We're print-centric.
Yes.
We're print first. Mm-hmm. And what most people don't understand is that legacy print media is in the business of selling its audience to people who want to get marketing messages to them. The readers are what we deliver to our customers. Our real customers are the advertisers. And we have to give the readers great quality journalism for them to want to read us, but they don't come close to covering the costs. What people will pay to deliver messages to readers in print is more than 10 times greater than what people will pay. That's the marketplace speaking.
That's interesting.
So why would I want to migrate my readers from print to digital when I'll lose 90% of the value of our most important asset? Mm-hmm. And the answer is I don't. And so if I don't, why make that easy? Why give people the opportunity to subscribe to the Orange County Business Journal digital only? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people will select that. I mean, like the Wall Street Journal had 2.2 million print subscribers. Now they only have 600,000. And so they lost the value of all those print readers. Sure, they've got 4 million digital subscribers. It's a great publication. They got more people reading it than ever. But what they deliver to the audience is what they can deliver to the advertiser is so much less, because that 4 million is the equivalent to 400,000 in terms of the value it is when they sell advertising. So we're the only organization in the United States, the LA, San Diego, and Orange County business journals, that don't give the readers the opportunity to be the death of the publication, which is to read it only digitally and not in print. We do give our subscribers a digital version. We've got this great thing on an app. Just put it into your phone if you're already a subscriber of the Orange County Business Journal. Put in Orange County Business Journal in your store. And it's amazing. It comes down Friday night before the Monday paper comes out. And it's a PDF version of the publication. And you can also get it HTML at our website. But people don't choose to read it digitally for the most part. Every day at lunch, people tell me, you're the only thing I still read in print.
Well, it's interesting because it almost feels like a magazine. That's the unique thing about the publication is I really don't like the feel of a newspaper, but yours really reads more like a magazine.
Yeah, because it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's in the same paper stock as the Hollywood Reporter, same printer actually, so the same rolls of paper, and it just doesn't have ink coming off on your fingers. It looks good. The beautiful homes we have in our luxury homes advertising, they jump off the page, and it's a pleasure to pick up and feel and to read. It gets dropped to people generally in their office, and it looks good, and they just start to thumb through it. They don't feel the need to go seek out our digital version.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
So we still deliver print readers to our advertisers, and thus we still get the dollar on the dollar, where the rest of print media around the country are getting 8 cents on the dollar from what they used to get.
Wow.
For delivering their audience.
It's becoming more and more difficult for people to make money in the news business, right? Because, I mean, we were talking about the Washington Post operating at $100 million loss. I mean, do you really think that print is going the way of the
I think I like
coffin?
One of the smartest business people on the planet running it. Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. He's trying to pay a little more attention now, but it's a real problem. No, he was making money. I mean, he is a very smart operator,
Right.
but it just gets worse and worse. Even their digital subscriptions are down. That's because they were being read for Trump. So there's some very specific things about them. But the advertising industry is in distress right now. We're in an advertising recession. Advertising revenues are down across the board. You know, you've got, some segments like, digital advertising is huge, but, most of it, the overwhelming majority of it is 3 companies, Facebook, Google, and Amazon. So, I mean, digital advertising is a really crummy business for legacy print media and for most other digital advertisers or digital media. So print is still a very effective way for people to reach an audience. And the marketplace proves that because they're willing to pay 10, 12 times more for a print reader than a digital reader.
Yeah.
But you're talking about the Washington Post. The San Diego Union Tribune just sold for $0. The owners of the Orange County Register just picked it up from Patrick Soon-Shiong just for the assumption of the pension obligation, but no money down.
Wow.
The Santa Barbara newspaper, very demographically attractive community, just closed. The New York Times and the LA Times just had layoffs. The LA Times it's well known, it's losing money and has been for a very long time. And daily newspapers in this country are in trouble. Yeah. And all print media in general is struggling. Most print media keep cutting costs just to stay above even, whereas we're still making the kind of money we made at the heyday of print media after almost 20 years of a secular decline in legacy print media economics.
Wow. Well, kudos to you, Richard.
It's fun.
I know it's a big part of you and your personality and your relationships, because that's a big part of what's going on.
But the second part's fun. It's fun to just not follow the crowd and have everybody think you're an idiot and then be the only one that's doing well.
Yeah.
And try not to be smug.
Well, it's funny because I've hung around you enough that I know that people are constantly, the role of the publisher is typically sales, management, marketing. but people are always wanting to get you engaged in the content aspect of it. And having know so many people in this town and being so aware of so many of the stories, how do you navigate those waters?
I've had the blessing of great editors.
Rick Reef, which
Rick
happened to
Reef
be
was
on
a
my
guest on your
guest
show.
on my show. Love Rick.
Pulitzer Prize recipient. He and I still take walks up and down the hillsides just south of Emerald Bay. He just was a brilliant journalist and a great guy. And we had a really fun, like, combustible relationship where we'd be arguing over things in the middle of the newsroom. I got a different editor now, Mark Mueller, backed up by Katie Marar, who just got promoted to executive editor, along with Peter Brennan. Very collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time when journalists were very arrogant about get out of my newsroom. I have complete, like a director in a movie, producer, don't get involved in this.
Yeah.
But with the 30 years of experience, I mean, every journalist at the Orange County Business Journal is like, I can't get this person to get back to me, and I'll text them, and they'll call me, and I say, here's my phone, talk to him. I mean, I did that with Palmer Luckey, at one time. And, he's a tough guy to get a hold of. He's our rock star now with Anduril. And he sold his
I
company.
want to interview him. Richard, get him on the phone.
He sold his company to Facebook for $3 billion when he was like 21 years old. Mm-hmm. He just turned 31, I think, this summer. Mm-hmm. But, I've got his cell number. I've got pretty much everyone's cell number. And so they appreciate that I could be part of the team.
Yeah.
And they understand that there's a lot of things that I know that I haven't told them because people talk to me in confidence, but I can still give them the insight, like, you're going down the wrong path.
Mm. So what
talk
are some
to George.
Of the, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the most interesting stories you guys are covering right now?
Oh, we talked about Anduril just now for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a company that was created just a few years ago. I think they're approaching $10 billion in market capitalization or in valuation from how they valued the company when they took the last round of investments. We've got a company that, if some viewers remember or have seen reruns of a show called The Jetsons, we've got a company that's going to make a vehicle. So you see the camera woman just perked up, like, that's interesting. Yeah. So the creator of the Predator drone, who lives in Orange County, and the Predator drone was developed in Orange County, is now creating drones that will carry people from Irvine or Laguna Beach to downtown Los Angeles in just a matter of minutes. There's going to be it's the vertical lift, and there'll be like an Uber service. It won't be like you'll buy one.
Yeah. But how far out is that?
They've been saying 2 or 3 years for about a year or so now. It's probably 3-4 years, practically speaking. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Within 5 years, you want to get to Los Angeles, it's not going to be that hard. You can just, and it'll be reasonably accessible. It'll probably be $120, $150, something around that magnitude to get to Los Angeles in 15 minutes or less.
Oh my God, I can't wait. That'll be awesome.
These are drones. They're very safe, and they're very quiet. They're electric powered. So, Over Air is a fun company. You got Virgin Galactic, with space tourism. The former head of Disneyland, Michael Colglazier, they moved the company here because they wanted him to run the company. They figured if he can do e-ticket rides, this is the ultimate e-ticket ride.
Absolutely.
So if you've saved up $400,000, you might want to make a reservation to go out into space.
Yeah, and we have a friend that's going to be on that next flight. Right, an Emerald Bay neighbor of yours. I'll just leave it at that.
Wow, how spacey. But there are a lot of fun companies here. There's a lot of fun companies. Companies like PIMCO, a huge financial institution. A company like Edwards with all the innovations being made in heart disease. Broadcom still has a big presence here. You were talking to me about just things are different now that we have the digital cameras. Well, Red Camera, Gennard, that he created Oakley first. He's got the dominant company now in digital cameras, and it's located in Orange County.
Jim Gennard, what is he going to come up with next, I tell you? We got a lot of really big real estate development stuff going on in the county as well, too. What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, as we tape this show, the front page of the Orange County Business Journal has a story about the Sagerstrom family. That's the family that owns South Coast Plaza. They're going to develop property that's across Sunflower from South Coast Plaza. So right now there's like Antonello's, there's a movie theater, there's Morton's. Well, that's all going to become high-rise or mid-rise residential. And they're going to build retail, almost as much retail within the same property. And that's going to be adjacent to a property that's along Bristol. So that's Sunflower along Bear, and then Sunflower along Bristol. Related properties is going to develop. Between the two projects, it's going to be close to $5 billion of new development.
Wow.
There'll be a hotel and the related property. So it's in Santa Ana. So Santa Ana will be like the gateway to Santa Ana is going to be this very upscale community where you can walk to the Sagerstrom Center and the Orange County Museum of Art and see South Coast Repertory and go to South Coast Plaza. A lot of green. Because these are going to be built with a lot of green fields within them as well.
I'm so excited.
It's
well,
going to
that
be
area needs something.
It's going to be extraordinary.
Yeah.
And then you've got Henry Samueli, and Dan Young is doing the development for him of what's called OC Vibe.
Where's that going to be?
That's Anaheim.
Oh.
So you've got an issue in Orange County. When my daughters graduated from college, it's like, Dad, I'm not going to move back to Orange County. There is no cohort of people like us, that live here. What do you do? It's not for us. Well, he's going to create a community there with lots of music venues, lots of cool restaurants, near the Arctic transportation mode, so that you can take mass transportation from there, go up to LA on the Amtrak, go down to the gas lamp on the Amtrak. It's going to be mostly residential. And it's going to be sort of like, it's not exclusively for it, but it's going to be a place that it's meant to be appealing to younger citizens, and that's something that Orange County needs, and that's going to be another $3 or $4 billion project.
Well, that's awesome, because I know,
and that's further along.
Yeah.
That's much further along, but that's much further along in terms of that's going to happen a lot before the other project, where you still got all these tenants. You got those big box stores along Bristol. You got great restaurants like Antonello's. And they still have leases, and it's going to be 20 years before that project's completed. But well before then, when you have the first phase that's up and going.
Well, it's exciting. When I had Shaheen Sadeghi on the show.
He's a great guy.
Love Shaheen.
Good friend.
And he talked a lot about how he really believes that the future is going to be having, your restaurants, your retail, all incorporated right into where you live.
That's OC5.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're seeing more of that happen. And of course, he's got some projects in development as well. So exciting stuff going on.
Shaheen's a real thought leader. He's amazing.
He really is. Visionary is what I call him.
Yeah, he's got the packing house, and he developed, the camp and the lab.
Yeah, good stuff. So we have to talk about the Orange County Business Journal hosts a numerous amount of award shows, probably one a month, it seems. And these award shows have become so popular. They're always sellout crowds. I love going. Everybody I know loves going to them. It's stuff like Innovator of the Year, Entrepreneur of the Year, Women-Owned Businesses, Family-Owned Businesses.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite of all of those award shows?
Well, you didn't mention two of my favorites, which is the General Counsel Award Program.
Yep.
And there's probably 700 people that attend that. Erwin Chemerinsky, one of the most respected legal academics in the United States, probably in the top 1 or 2 or 3, most cited by other law review articles. He was the founding dean of the UCI Law School. That's why he's the MC. That's how he first became the MC. But now that he's the dean at Berkeley, one of the top 10 law schools in the country, he said, Richard, I'll be your MC for as long as you'll have me.
Oh my gosh.
So he flies down every year. He gives it real gravitas. He's one of the funniest guys I know. One person called it dad humor. I don't agree with that at all. I think it's really funny stuff. So it's a great show.
Yeah.
And pretty much one of the things I'm proud about is that we're not just like the local who cares, business journal. I mean, PIMCO is a powerhouse. It's a $2 trillion money under management. And yet the general counsel of that company, I'm going to compete. In fact, I'm going to compete for best legal team, because we are the best legal team. Anderil, the new cool kids, their general counsel was recognized in that program. It's like Edwards, it's not beneath anyone.
Right.
I think in a lot of communities, it's like, we're global companies. Why do we care about a recognition from a local rag?
Yeah.
But I'm very proud. And the same thing with our CFO award program. They're both like 700, 800 people. In fact, the CFO program only took place this year. We had 770 people for a dinner.
Wow.
It's just great.
It's
just great. And the only issue I have is, you think that the women's event would be the one it's hard to like quiet down to get started? No, the accountants are much harder. They don't get out as much.
Those crazy accountants.
It's a dinner too, so they're doing a little drinking.
Oh, okay. So, it's funny because I was actually just telling you that I feel like the awards programs have really had a big impact on the community, because I feel like sometimes it's hard for people that might work for the company or might be maybe mid-level management to feel as excited about getting involved with some of the, promotion of the company. But these awards programs bring everybody together. People are rooting for each other. It really kind of brings like a teammanship feel to the game.
And the word you used was community.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for the two I just mentioned, GC and CFO, that is the event for the legal, for the high end of the legal bar, the ones that are representing companies, not the criminal bar, not the family bar, but for the people that are representing the big companies. This is where they all come out and see each other. They and the general counsel see each other, and even the general counsel are kind of excited to like meet other attorneys in the law firm world, because typically they're in their silo, and this is their chance to meet folks. And
everybody that has been even nominated always mentions it. It's like it's become an award that people are very proud of, and even if they're nominated, they talk about it. So I think it's really had a very good impact, I will say, for myself.
Thank you.
But it's not the only thing. You guys have a lot of signature kind of issues and offerings that you offer in the community. One of my favorite is the wealthiest list. It's like, who made the list this year?
Oops. That's this one.
Woohoo!
So this is just in the weekly paper. And
who's at the top of the list this year? It's always
drum roll.
Friend,
drum roll, please.
Samuel.
Yeah. So it's Donald Brand is on the top of the list, and Henry Samueli is second. The Irvine Company is a phenomenon.
Yeah.
130 million square feet of high-end commercial real estate.
Wow.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
What Donald Brand did at the Irvine Company, and I think Orange County wouldn't be what it is today if it weren't for the way it was developed in such a thoughtful fashion, where anything they build is done with an eye toward how does this fit into the whole, not just does this one thing make money. Whereas in a community, let's say like Phoenix, where everything is just owned by one owner, how do I make the most money on just this one parcel, not how is this best for the whole? So that's part of why Orange County is so well laid out. It was done very thoughtfully. And over time, he invested. He's got buildings in Michigan Avenue, above Grand Central Station, the old Pan Am building.
Yeah. Well, when I was looking for space for my salon, I decided to not go into an Irvine Company property because it was more expensive. And then I just kicked myself the whole time because the property that I went into was poorly managed. Signage wasn't well done. Parking was an issue. And I thought, you get what you pay for. Sometimes you just gotta.
They're professional.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
It's
convenience is really high in priority to make sure that the customer always feels like it's an easy opportunity.
So we created great value. I believe in our system. There's a lot of going on in our country right now. But I just saw a little reel with Jamie Dimon and said, no country has ever had more advantages in the history of the world than the United States does today. And I think our system is part of it. Why is it that all the innovative companies come out of the United States? Well, why is it that Google or Facebook and Amazon? Why are these American companies and not European companies? We just have a great ecosystem. Our system works. There's people who don't thrive, but the sad fact is, to have the highest tide altogether, You need to have a competitive situation. In the history of man, if you simply just try to like equalize everything, I'm going to just tell this anecdote because I love it. For people who just say that everything has to be equitable, not equal opportunity, but equitable, think about a classroom situation. If you were to go to class and after the exam, the teacher goes, this isn't equitable. Some people got Fs and other people got As. I'm going to take all the right answers and over all the wrong answers and everybody gets the same grade. And the next time there's a test, the kids that studied really hard are getting Bs because other people didn't study at all and they got averaged out. But then the next time they give the test, that person goes, well, screw that. So that person stops studying. And now the average grade is a D and then it becomes an F. That's just, I think, a very good metaphor of why you need to have a system where there are winners and losers. I believe in a safety net as well, but that's something that I've come to understand better and better over time, that our system creates wealth and most people's lives are much better for it. And of course, that's not everyone, and we need to be compassionate and do what we can to take care of those that don't thrive. But our system results in the highest overall utility.
Richard, I love talking to you.
Oh,
I've always
you.
loved talking to you. You are really one of the most balanced thinkers I've ever approached or talked to. And you always come with a very fresh perspective. You're never one-sided. I love that about you. But speaking of wealth, we have to talk about the giving guide because
that's the other side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is something I'm really, really proud of.
There's a lot of philanthropy going on in this county, and you guys cover it really well.
This is the only reference book in Orange County that you can find 75 different philanthropies. What's their mission? Who's the executive director? Who serves on their board? What are their dates of their events? What are the volunteering opportunities? There's 75 different organizations there in one place. And I can tell you that the partners in the law firms are saying, to their other partners, like, you need to be out in the community more, find something you are passionate about, something that you can get behind. And by the way, check out who's on the board so that, you can do this alongside somebody who is going to be a client that you can bring in, or an accounting firm, the same kind of a thing, the partners. So I think there's a lot, and this is distributed to those people. Our readers include the major partners and the major law firms and the major executives and the major companies. So if they're looking to get involved with something, they're receiving the giving guide. It comes with their subscription to the Orange County Business Journal. And I want to give a props to Amy Sofreto, who is the sales rep that came up with this idea for the Business Journal. She saw it in another business journal that was just running inside the paper, like 12 pages, 16 pages. And now this is the single biggest product that we have. And there's nothing like it in Orange County. And I would say to Amy, who did well by doing so, by creating this thing and selling advertising, into this and other things, I said, but you're not just doing well, Amy, you've done good. Because it makes a difference to this community that the information of all these organizations are available so that people can find what they're looking for if they want to volunteer or they want to give money to an organization that has a cause that they can get behind.
Yeah. Wow. It's beautiful. Great story.
We do a lot of philanthropy.
Yeah, you do.
We do the charity event guide, which is, again, business journals aren't usually the publication. Usually it's like a city magazine. That would be like, what are all the events of the year? And what were the 5 top dinners? And what were the 5 top walks and golf tournaments? But we publish that as well in January. And we publish a philanthropy section, which is coming out in the current issue, and we have every other week, we have a column on philanthropy. So we do a lot to recognize the people who are givers. And I think, be like Mike. You see someone you respect, giving money to a hospital or to a university or to a community organization, you go, I want to be like that. It's the good behavior is modeled in the Business Journal.
Yeah. You guys cover a lot of stuff. I mean, how many people are on your staff?
About 35.
35 people?
And
that's amazing.
And when I got there, was about 32 people. And we're like 8 times bigger now. But 8 times bigger is because there's just more ads.
Well, and in addition to the 30 years that you've been at the Business Journal, you came from the LA Times, right?
I did.
So you have a long history in this industry. What was your role at the LA Times?
I was director of marketing for the Orange County edition. I worked for a great mentor named Larry Higbee. And Larry ended up as the CEO of a public company, the chair of the Segerstrom Center, one of the founders of New Majority. And he and I did great things together. We came into this marketplace, Orange County. So I was working in marketing in the newspaper industry when I was recruited to the Orange County Business Journal, so that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And we were losing the war, the LA Times to the Orange County Register, badly. Mm-hmm. And so Larry and I and a fellow named Dick Schlossberg, who had played with the concept in Denver when he was there, we created a television section that was basically a cable guide, so that it would have the actual HBO, it would say channel, whatever it is, 200. Mm-hmm. CNN, it would say 14, not just CNN. And it would be zoned for each market. And each of the cable operators stopped publishing their guide because we paid them more for advertising than they were making on the guide. And so we were able to call people up and say, hey, we're sorry that your cable guide is no longer available to you at your cable system, but we're producing one that's better. And it comes in the Sunday Times. And guess what? It's the same price or even less. So that program was recognized by a trade publication as the best marketing program of the year. And I was really proud of that. I didn't see my name in the story. It had the name of the publisher. How does that happen?
Yeah, whoever puts the TV guy in the newspaper, I think, deserves their name.
Yeah, Dick Schlossberg said Larry Higbee to Richard Reisman. I was the guy doing the program under great mentorship.
What publications do you personally read?
It's kind of silly. It's so many. I subscribe to the Washington Post, the New York Times, the LA Times, the Orange County Register. I get Wall Street Journal. Good guess. It's correct. And I read a bunch of business journals. I'm pretty well informed.
So, we were talking earlier about how news media has become so biased. And I think you use the term advocacy journalism, which I think is a great term. I'm going to help you proliferate that term. Which publications, do you think this is going to be the new normal, or do you think we're going to see maybe more going back? Is it just the pendulum is going back and forth? Do you think that there are publications that are good at providing unbiased journalism?
It's worse than you're saying as I hear you talk about it, because you got what's called cable news, but it's cable entertainment. That's not even journalism. If there's anybody there that thinks, well, I shouldn't say that. Brett Baird does a really good job. There's some people, individuals, but it's entertainment. It's like, Fox was candidly an embarrassment, with that, the whole thing with the lawsuit where they paid, I think it was $800 million in a judgment where their personalities were all privately saying this is crazy. And then they're on air and they're like asking people to repeat the crazy stuff. It wasn't like they were saying, I know this is true, what they said is false, but they were bringing guests on for the purpose of them saying stuff that they said, this is insane, this is crazy. Why? There's a reason. Because their listeners wanted to hear that. And that ruled the day. That's not journalism. Journalism isn't like, what do the people who tune in want to hear? And we'll say that. And MSNBC and CNN aren't much better. They just have different views that their listeners want to hear. So that isn't even journalism. And that's sad, because that's where people get a lot of what they think is news, but they're getting entertainment. People saying our market wants these things to be said. And so that's what they're going to hear, which is not to denigrate every single person who is on air, but overall that's their business model. Is to tell people what they want to hear so they can sell advertising against that audience that is hearing what they came to hear. They don't want to hear messages different than what they already know, quote, and believe. And then you've got print journalism. Print journalism used to be dominated by an idea that you might be liberal, you might be conservative, but mostly liberal, because that's just a fact that journalists have always come from. Most journalists have been liberal over the last 50, 60 years. But they felt an obligation to be balanced and fair. I don't think that's true anymore. I think that most people now that are working for daily newspapers, they have an agenda. They know what's true. Mm-hmm. They go into journalism so that they can tell you, the reader, what's true. So I think most journalists, have a point of view, and when you read the publication, you're getting their point of view as truth. And you'll see, comma, which is a lie. I'm going to tell this anecdote. This bothers me. So the Washington Post, which in general is a high integrity publication, but still they've got this bias from, we're going to just communicate to people the way we see things. So in the debate the other night, a couple of weeks ago, they were doing fact checking on one of the Republican candidates, said something along the lines that the Democrats are supporting legislation which allows abortion all the way up until birth. And so the fact checker goes, let's see if this is true. And he recharacterized it. So the allegation was this, comma, which infers that it's common. And then he went to bunk the notion that late-term abortions are common. But he didn't say that the actual assertion, like the constitutional amendment that California just passed, allows for abortion without restriction on time. You can have an abortion at 35 weeks, so long as a doctor will perform one, but there's no restriction on it. So the statement was true. The Democrats are putting forth that. And I'm a pro-choice guy, but I'm talking about the whole issue here of, was that false? He added something to what was said and said the added part is false. That's nonsense. Right. And he's the fact checker. Who's going to check the fact? I guess I'll check the fact checker.
Somebody's got to do it.
Okay.
Richard, we do something here called the big questions, and you're not getting out of it. Tell me, what are some of your consistent daily routines?
Oh, it's very goofy. I'm in a social business. Mm-hmm. What makes the Business Journal successful, among some of the other things we talked about, but a key component is just all the relationships that I have and how I know the people who run Orange County. So I have lunch with the people who run our universities, people who run our hospitals, obviously the people who run our businesses, philanthropies, arts organizations, even our elected officials every day. So I basically spend my mornings preparing for lunch. I read up about whoever I'm having lunch with, so I don't have to go through the most well-known things about the person, things that are out there, and I can drill down and really understand and get to bond and create a relationship more deeply, and to get, drill down much more so than you would have time to at a lunch if you're just trying to get like the basic stuff that you can understand if you read the Orange County Business Journal coverage on that person and look at whatever else you can find on Google. So I spend a lot of my day around lunch.
I think that's brilliant. And you've been doing this for as long as I've known you, so over 20 years, I'm sure. It's a brilliant idea. It's a way to keep connected to your community. I think it has really a big impact in you being able to have everybody's cell phone number and be able to pick them up and call them. So that's. And
brilliant. I eat the lunch at Bistango most of the time, which I think is the best restaurant in Orange County. So
you do.
And they treat me like
fan.
Like I'm a favorite son.
Yeah. I remember one time I was like, Richard, let's have lunch. And you're like, I'm sorry, I'm booked up for lunch for like a month. And I'm like, oh my God.
But I get cancellations. Other people have things come up, so I can call you last minute.
Every now and again. Tell me something people would be surprised to know about you.
Well, that Richard Reisman, who was afraid of girls until he was 22 years old, and Warren Beatty, who had a great number of women in his life, married a pair of sisters. Who would have thunk it?
Who would have thunk it?
And the one I married was every bit as beautiful as the one that he married.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Which is Annette Bening.
Yes,
and Jane Bening.
Yes, and Jane Bening. I love that.
Right. And I've had two beautiful wives.
Tell me a piece of advice that served you well.
A piece of advice that served me well. I want to give kudos to Al Osborne. Al Osborne is a great American story. He's African-American, went to Stanford, got a graduate degree in electrical engineering, which is the most demanding of all the engineering degrees. And Stanford's some easy school to get A's. And then got a doctorate in business administration and spent his whole career at UCLA Business School. And I met him during the admittee program that UCLA had when I was practicing law. And I don't want to talk about my missteps in my first career that I'm recovering. I'm a recovering lawyer. But I knew I didn't want to keep doing that. I wasn't good at it. And I don't like conflict. So you shouldn't be a litigator if you don't like conflict. That was a bad match for me. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I met Al, and so I'm looking at all the, like what class does he teach? Oh, he teaches microeconomics. And he goes, oh, he is the hardest professor. He gives you the most work. You have to really get into a lot of quantitative stuff. It's just microeconomics. You don't really need it. I would recommend you take an easier professor. So I got to have Al Osborne in a class with only 20 people. The other sessions had 80.
Wow.
And he touched the lives of all 20 of us. And he touched my life in a profound way. So we were in his office, and he knew I didn't know what I wanted to do. And he goes, let's brainstorm about what you might do. And tech, real estate, healthcare. And then he goes, media. So Al served on the board of directors of Times Mirror, which was then the parent company of the LA Times and was a huge conglomerate of media properties. And when he said media, the light bulb went off. I said, let's talk more about that. That sounds good. And as it turns out, I arranged to meet Otis Chandler, and I didn't mention Al to him, but Al was on his board. Otis Chandler was the chairman of the board of Times Mirror. Mm. And then I followed up with a letter saying I was interested in working there. And it turns out that he had reached out to Al Osborne to ask about me, who said that I was one of the brightest students he's ever come across at UCLA. And I didn't know this at the time because he didn't say anything, but a colleague of mine in human resources one day showed me the letters in the file. And I knew that he really wasn't supposed to do that, so I never told Al. And then 20 years later, I said, Al, by the way, and he goes, I don't remember doing it, but I'm pleased it worked out so well for you.
Yeah, oh God, that was good advice. Tell me, what do you think is the most pressing issue facing our world today?
I think it's populism. You know, you got global warming. You know, you got lots of things that you might say. You've got issues in our country with our democratic form of government. You got, you know, a lot of conflict and just, you know, polarization. But around the world,
what is populism?
Populism is leaders preying upon the people that are doing less well, that have grievances, you know, the people that don't take responsibility for why their lives aren't good. And they become the demagogue that tells you that I feel your pain and I understand you. And I think there's good leaders who feel their pain, but to tell them it's someone else's fault, that's the part that's a problem. It's the Hispanics' fault. They're coming over and taking over your jobs. And the guy works in Indiana, you know, or did in an auto plant that closed for all kinds of reasons, but not because of immigration. And, you know, it's someone else's fault. It's their fault. And nobody cares about you. Only I care about you. So this isn't just, you know, what is going on in our country. You know, this is going on in Europe. It's going on in South America. It's going on all over the world. There's an anti-democratic populism that's going on where the people who have grievances and are unhappy with their lives are finding a leader that they follow, even though that leader really isn't doing what's in their best interest.
Mm. Yeah, that's sad. You've been a long time, very active member of YPO. Tell me, what has that organization meant to you?
It's been an important organization to me. YPO stands for Young Presidents Organization. You have to become the head of an entity that has a minimum size to it before you're 40. And I qualified for YPO and joined it in many years ago. But candidly, I'm no longer in the regular YPO chapter. I'm in YPO Gold. And the dirty little secret about YPO Gold is that the G is silent. So we're like a parallel group, and we
Yeah.
do some meetings together, but we have our own programming. Um, Within the chapter, you have forums, and that's a subgroup. And I've been with my forum for a very long time, over 25 years. And Augie Nieto, who recently passed earlier this year from Lou Gehrig's disease, the founder of Life Fitness. I mean, Life Fitness is a company which started in Orange County. We talked about, some other great companies that are in Orange County, but there's just so many. It's in Chicago now, but he founded that company and he got struck by Lou Gehrig's disease when he was 45, and he just passed away after struggling with the disease for, I think it was 18 years, which is extraordinary. It's just a very powerful will, and as his wife Lynn said, it's called Lou Gehrig's disease, but it's going to be called Augie's cure. Because Augie created an organization to find a cure for Lou Gehrig's disease, and they've got compounds that are actually in FDA testing now. So, I mean, he's in my forum. I got to be with Augie once a month for over 20 years. Wow. And Mike Gray is our moderator. He's a brilliant entrepreneur whose family was the St. John family, but he created his fortune, in supplying millions of cookies a day to distributors all over the country. Robert Brunswick, Buchanan Street Partners, who's the chair-elect for Hoag Hospital. We've got Johnny Ginger, a former chair of the Sagerstrom Center. People ran public companies. People sold their companies for 9 figures. It's just a great group of guys. And every month I sit down, and what the purpose of Forum is, it's not a social group. It's to be a mutual aid society. And so everyone talks about all the issues that they have at work and at home and in life. But, on the work part, I'm the only publisher of a business publication, I think, in the country that is hearing from a dozen other people every month of all the different issues they have for 25 years. And so I've heard it all. And so when we write about something at the Business Journal, it's I don't know exactly what happened, but that's just not how people in that position would think. That's not how it's done. Because I just have that kind of insight from YPO. So it's been a very important organization for me.
Yeah. Awesome. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that you are an amazing dad with 2 beautiful, sensational daughters, Marissa and Kimmy, who I have a very big place in my heart for and I have for many, many years, and a Saba of now 3 grandchildren, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Tell me what has been being a grandpa mean to you.
It's important. I love it. It's
the only time I ever see you post on social media anymore.
Yeah. I was a single dad from the time the kids were 6 and 3. And I took very seriously that I've got to raise these 2 beautiful daughters in a way that they're going to have great lives. So I already lived in Emerald Bay. And so I bought a home around the corner from that house. The kids could be in either house whenever they wanted to be. They slept in each house in alternating weeks. I saw them when they were at the other house, and my ex saw them when they were at my house. And they saw both parents every day, and it really wasn't that different than being raised in an intact family. They both married great husbands. Kimmy went to Tufts and NYU, and she works for a software company as an executive in Boston. And Marissa went to Yale and Columbia University Business School, and she's in Manhattan. And she married a great guy that came from Rockaway, and they got a beach house there, and they bought a bar there. Connolly's, if you're ever in Rockaway,
I didn't know that.
Go to Connolly's.
That's cool.
And Marissa had 2 children. Her last, as we talked about, her mother's last name is Benning, and my last name is Reisman. So her son is Ben, and her daughter is Reese.
Oh my gosh!
And my daughter Kimmy has this great young man that's got the biggest smile in the world, and he's a very handsome guy, Weldon. And so I got 2 grandsons and 1 granddaughter, and I see them every 3 months, even though they're on the other coast. I'll be there when this show is starting to to play, I'll be on the East Coast, and I was there in June, and I'll see them again for Thanksgiving. So every 3 months, I see my daughters and their families, and it's a real joy. And I couldn't be more proud. It's just how well adjusted, how happy, how together. They're all very good people. What good people they are: loving, giving, charitable, caring.
Yeah.
So it's a real joy.
I think back, and I've actually thought about this many, many times. When you and I met, I was recently separated from my husband and figuring out how to share custody of the kids. And, you can't help. You go through all the guilt about what does this mean to my children that they have a broken family. And you said to me, good things are good for kids and bad things are bad for kids. So if you're in a happier place now that there's two different homes, that's better than having one home that maybe is not as happy. And
well, people say divorce ruins kids. Yeah. Well, divorce, if it's bad, if their environment's bad, being in a bad marriage is bad for kids. Being in a situation that is harmonious in divorce, that's good, will be good for kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great piece of advice. Richard, you've accomplished so much. What is a goal that you've yet to achieve? What's next for Richard Reisman?
That's a weird answer. I love what I'm doing now. I don't have any aspirations except to continue along the same paths. Yeah. I want to continue to be the publisher of the Business Journal for as long as I am able. I want to continue to be a good dad and being a father of adult children to me is just as much fun as being a father to young children.
It's more fun in my opinion.
It's really cool.
I like it a lot better.
And and the grandchildren are a joy. So there's nothing I feel I need to achieve that I want to accomplish. I don't have a bucket list. I love my life here where I live. I love my life at work. I love my life with my family and my friends. And the answer is there's nothing.
Well, and you've
different.
done Delphine Circle now, so
there you go. The last box checked.
Thank you so much, Richard. It's been amazing having you here.
Thank you.
Or me here.
My pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Delphine Circle. Don't forget to subscribe. It's free and it will help us keep these incredible interviews coming your way. Here are 2 other episodes you may enjoy. I'm Delphine. Welcome to my circle.